All right, guys, we are live. And again, Andy, Pat, what's up, guys?
How's it
How's
going,
it
Greg?
going?
Well, Greg,
Excellent. I am excited to chat with you guys today. We'll give everyone just a few minutes to join the room. It usually takes everyone a couple minutes to get in, and then we will get started. We got an awesome webinar planned today. I'm stoked.
me too. Me too. This is gonna be fantastic. Where are you guys located at the moment?
I'm in Spain right now.
I'm in Dublin, Ireland.
And I'm in San Francisco, California.
And
All right, so
Me too.
two in San Francisco and other two of us over in Europe right now. So, and that reminds me, if you're just joining us, why don't you drop in the chat box where you're coming from? It's always fun to see where all of our guests are joining us from. It's usually all around the world, and that is super cool to see. And then, yeah, if you are just joining us, we'll just be 1 or 2 more minutes, wait for everyone to join, and then we'll get going. All right, excellent. They're coming in fast. We're at already 700 people, and I imagine over 1,000 of us will be joining, and for good reason, because we have a lot of knowledge bombs to drop. Pat and Gen, what's it like in San Francisco right now? Is it still the chilly summers, or are we getting out of that?
No, let me tell you something. I couldn't be happier right now. It's going to touch 80 today, a little bit of breeze. I moved up here from San Diego, so I do well with the heat and the sun. And it was kind of a mild summer up here, which this is my first year in San Francisco. And to have it be this hot and this sunny, I'm a happy guy. So is my dog, spending a lot of time outside. How's it by you?
yeah,
Nice. I'm in Las Palmas right now, which is fantastic. It's the only weird thing about this city is like located in a weird area. There's I guess this time of year a fair amount of clouds, but the weather is fantastic, or the temperature is fantastic. I guess probably similar to San Francisco. So yeah.
yeah. The little secret is the weather in San Francisco is actually wonderful, but it's like Iceland. People just say it's cold and gray, so people don't come. Fewer people.
I don't think it's where the secret. I think the secret's at. I don't know if it's working for you again, but
Yeah, Pat blew up our spot, but how you guys in San Francisco?
I'm gonna say that's definitely the first time I've heard Iceland compared to San Francisco.
All right, guys, if you're just joining us, we're just going to get started in 1 more minute. We'll give everyone just 1 minute to join. We're at almost 1,000 attendees, which is awesome. And if you are just joining us, we're chatting where we're located right now. Just drop in the box where in the world you're tuning in from. It's always fun to see. All right. And what do you guys think? I guess we're 1 minute past the hour. Should we go ahead and get started?
Yeah, absolutely. So if anybody is having issues with the resolution, I just dropped the YouTube link in the chat box. You can see it at the top. It does buffer, so it's a little bit slower, and you can just participate in the chat in the Webinar Jam platform, but sometimes people find a better resolution in YouTube. So yeah, I'm super excited to get started. Thanks so much for joining. I did get a quick preview of what these guys are going to share, and it's fantastic. I think we're in for a real treat. So today we'll basically be focused on finding Amazon listing optimizations that work. So what are the changes, the tweaks that you can make to generate big growth? And each of these guys were handpicked and selected for their unique perspective. We have Andy on the right. Hi, Andy. Co-founder of Splitly, the only split testing tool made for Amazon sellers. Andy's a successful Amazon seller himself, software developer from Ireland. Wealth of knowledge with regards to Amazon conversion rate optimization and split testing. So super stoked to hear what Andy has to say. Greg, in the middle there, serial entrepreneur and investor. Greg's the founder and CEO of a suite of tools, including Jungle Scout, Review Kick, Fetcher, just to name a few, all focused on empowering Amazon sellers and as well seller of several physical product brands. One of which he's been doing a case study on has been awesome. All proceeds going to charities. So I think Greg is going to pull the veil back on that a little bit. And then we have Pat Petriello from CPC Strategy. CPC Strategy is a retail-focused search management company. They focus on paid search, Google Google Shopping Management, Amazon Sales Acceleration, and Facebook Performance Marketing. Over 350 active retail clients, and they've been one of the top 50 fastest growing companies in San Diego. That's awesome. And Pat is the head of marketplace strategy at CPC Strategy, former Amazon professional seller, worked in a variety of roles as an Amazon seller and at Amazon. So super pumped to hear what Pat has to say. So with that, thought we'd start with Andy to kind of learn a little bit about split testing in general and how we can leverage it to help our Amazon business.
Okay, great. I'll just pull up the slideshow here.
And in the meantime, just feel free to drop in any questions in the chat box. We are going through, keeping tabs on that. And these guys will be chatting for a while they go through their slides. And we will definitely share some time for Q&A at the end. Keep them coming.
Okay, great. Guys, can you all see my slideshow there?
Yep, we can see it looks great.
Perfect. Okay, so there's actually just a few different things I wanted to show you guys today. Before I talk about split testing, the first thing I wanted to start out with was we've gone and analyzed a lot of our customers' data, so all the products, and we're just trying to figure out correlations between different aspects of people's listings and their conversion rate. So you can see here I've got 4 different charts, and what we've done is we've plotted conversion rate versus the number of features you have, conversion rate versus the number of images you have, conversion rate versus product description, and the last one is the length of your title. And so you can see, even though it's a scatter of points going upwards, you could do a best line fit, and this just demonstrates what we know to be true anyway, but this just confirms it, is that you really should maximize all your different the things that Amazon gives you. I will make one point though. So although I am saying that you should maximize the length and the use of all these things, there is one chart here that is missing, and that shows sessions versus title length. And although up to about 250 characters, you can show a direct correlation that you want a longer title. After that, the data gets what we call inconclusive, as in it just bounces around all over the place. So you definitely want, if you are going to do those longer titles, and only some of you can, because Amazon has reduced that to 250 characters, depending on what category you're in. But if you do want to do the longer titles, you might want to test that to make sure that you are optimized. As regards keywords, what I've done is actually I was trying to figure out, how does Amazon respond to when you make a difference when you make a change to your keywords. So how could you go and test that? And although I'd heard from many other sellers, many of my friends, and what I'd read online was that if you make a change to your keywords, Amazon will then take a few days or maybe a week before they actually respond to that change. What I found personally, and what some of my friends who I got to test with me, is that if you make a change, as soon as that change is live, so that could be between 10 minutes or 30 minutes, as soon as that change is live, your rank will change. And so this is actually really, really cool, because what you can do is you can test your keywords straight away. So you could go, let's say, add in a keyword to your features, and then you would just search for that keyword on Amazon and see where you rank. And you might have to click through a few pages to find out where you are, and then remove that keyword and then check it again, and you can see, oh, look, there's the difference. That was the effect of that keyword. And I would recommend, when you are doing this, not to use rank tracking software, because that takes a while to update. You can just search for it yourself manually on Amazon. And this is great because you could just do all this rather than listening to gurus and what they say about these things. You can just firsthand, you can go in and experiment with it and get a good feel for what's going on. Early on, yeah, so when you first come onto Amazon, you first launch your product, your keywords are going to be really, really important, because Amazon doesn't know anything else about your product. So it's key to get these in and fill them all up at the very beginning when you launch your product. Later on, I'll explain about this in a bit, but Amazon's algorithm will kick in. The third point I'm making here is about your title. So after a while, in my case, it took a year, but after a while, Amazon will make it difficult for you to update your title. So again, you want to make sure you have this optimized for keywords early on and in your product lifecycle, because later on it's going to be difficult to change. So as regards Amazon's algorithm, why does it actually work better at the beginning than later on? And it's still, I will reinforce this point, it still matters. Your keywords still matter later on. It's just they're less sensitive. And the reason why is it's like, I'm sure many people have heard about super URLs. The reason why is it's just like Google. When people search for a certain phrase or certain keywords, they'll match that up with, if those users buy your actual product, they'll go, oh, those keywords correctly match your product, so we'll boost your rank. And vice versa, if they're searching those things and they're not buying your product, then you will drop rank. And just in my personal case, I was on page 1 for my primary keywords that I started with when I launched my product. And now, even though I'm selling better, I'm actually down on about page 5 for those primary keywords, as in those keywords that are at the very front of my title. But I'm still selling more, and I'm picking up all these long tail things. Like, for example, if your product was water bottles, but your product was a really large blue water bottle, then large and blue are going to kick in later on to be more effective than just water bottles, even if you have your first keywords as water bottles. So I have a list of different things I've noticed from adding keywords in and out. But again, I must reinforce the point that you guys should go out there and you should test all this yourself. And that way it really sticks in your head, and you don't have to trust other people and what they have to say. So, but that being said, the first thing I've noticed is that you can just add as many search terms as you want, and it doesn't dilute the effect of any particular search terms. So just fill up all those search term fields, as many keywords as you can. And obviously stay relevant, because if you put in irrelevant search terms and you do rank for those, then you're going to lose conversion rate as people click on your listing and go, oh, that's not correct. Or Amazon will show it in search results and they'll go, oh, that was wrong. So you don't want to do that. Just keep them relevant. Again, you can test it yourself, but if you add in duplicate keywords, let's say you put them in your title and your search terms, there's no penalty to this, and neither is there any benefit to doing it. So it's really up to you. But I mean, if you just want to have more search terms, then it's best not to duplicate. We all know this one to be true, but again, you can confirm it yourself. Keywords in the title definitely have the biggest effect. Interestingly here, the fourth point, what I've noticed is that having a keyword in your search term fields is as effective as having it in your features, in your bullet points. So what's really cool about this is you can basically focus on having really nice copy on your listing and not, lose conversion rate for trying to stuff all these keywords into your listing. And instead, you can just put all those keywords into your search terms. So that's a really cool thing. And the final point here, yeah, it doesn't matter what order you fill your search term fields with. Okay.
Hey,
so
Andy,
just
real quick. So when you say search term fields, those are the back end search terms.
Exactly.
Is that correct? Awesome.
Yeah, you have five search term fields, and you get 1,000 characters each, so that's plenty of room to play with.
Fantastic.
And where are you generating a lot of these keywords? Is this like from your intuition or reviews or keyword research?
Yeah, so there's different strategies for this. You can use Google AdWords and things like that to see what people are searching. You can use what's that? Merchant words is guys who show you what people are actually searching on e-commerce sites. And yeah, you can do things like you can do spelling mistakes. Although if you start filling your search terms with spelling mistakes, again, you can test this, right? You can just go to Amazon and you can type in a spelling mistake. And if they automatically correct for that spelling mistake, well, there's no point in you adding that into your search term fields. So you can try all these things out.
This is Pat, and you can use some of your sponsored products advertising reports as well to give you some additional insight into potential keywords that you might also want to repurpose as search terms in your back-end organic content.
Yeah. I guess, yeah, search terms is more your guys' thing anyway, actually. I just discovered this from trying to figure out how you would actually go about split testing it. But it's the takeaway point here is that you can actually try this all out yourself very quickly. Yeah, so just a quick thing about what is split testing. Essentially what we're doing is we're taking two different versions of your product and we're presenting them to the customer. One version one day and another version the next day. So just to take an example, if you wanted to see which primary image is better, you would set up a test on Spilly, or you can do this manually yourself. But what you would do is one day we're going to show the water bottle on its own. And the next day, we're going to show the water bottle in someone's hand, someone drinking it, let's say. And then the next day, back to on its own. Next day, someone drinking it, and keep on going like this. And then over time, we'll have all the data for the water bottle on its own, and all the data for the person drinking from the water bottle. And we'll know how many people visited your listing for each one, and how many people bought for each one. And so then we can say which image was better for driving traffic to your listing, and which one was better for converting. So that's essentially what split testing is. What we've noticed from looking at what our customers are doing is that the most effective tests you can do is, first of all, to test your price. And there's really no surprise here, because as most people know, if they change their price, that can really, if they drop their price, they're going to really increase sales. But of course, then your profit margin goes down, and then vice versa. If you increase your price, you'll probably lose some sales, but you'll gain profit. So what's the correct thing to do? So what you can do is you can set up a split test, and you can find out what is the optimal price point. And the other big impact test we've seen is your main image. And this is a really great one, because most people, I mean, you're just guessing. You just don't know what actually image is going to improve your conversion rate. And you can think that one image looks better yourself, but I mean, it really is better to test this, because we've seen some surprising results, and some people get as much as 50%, even more increase on their conversion rate just by split testing it. So it's definitely a great one. Yeah, for an example of things we've seen that work really well is inclusion of props, or not including them, just having the plain image. But I will point out that you want to be careful. It is against Amazon's terms of service to have extra things on your primary image, but most people just ignore that and go ahead and get away with it. But don't take my don't say I'm not endorsing that. Yeah, so we have like 3 steps that we would recommend. You can actually do this in any order you like. But if you don't know what to start with when you're optimizing your listing, we recommend the first thing you do is try your price. So you would, for example, test a price that's 10% greater than where you have it currently, versus 10% less than where you have it currently. Run your test. When you find a winner, you could then choose do another test that's somewhere in and around that winner, so you can hone in on exactly where the correct price is. The next thing is you can figure out how to get more people to your listing. So that's basically click-through rate. So when someone sees when they search your product on Amazon and they see your product amongst all the other ones, well, you want to entice them to click on yours. So what do people see first is they're going to see the title and the image and some of the features. So you can test that on Splitly. You can just change different components there and run your test, and over time we'll say which one got more visitors to your listing. And then last but not least, is optimizing for conversion rate. So again, people now come onto your listing and you want to get them to buy. And so again, you want your main image and secondary images, and also all your sales copy, your title, your features, and description. And I will point out that as regards optimizing your conversion rate, this is really, really a crucial thing, because if you can just get a little bit more conversion rate, you not only do you get the benefit of making that bit extra cash because you've made that many more sales on the increase in the conversion rate. Also, Amazon is going to like you more. If you're making money, they're making money, and so what they do is then, of course, is they're going to boost up your ranking, and you will then get more traffic to your listing, and so it's definitely a great one to optimize. So finally, we've just created a coupon for everyone. Just to give you, if you want to try out Splitly, you get 50% off your first month. And I think you have a link to that somewhere, guys, Greg or someone, where it'll be applied automatically.
Yeah, sure. I'll drop that in the link at the end. But it's not just at splitly.com. There is a little parameter we'll add to that.
Okay, yeah, great.
Splitly.com/growth. And yeah, thank you for that, Andy. That was excellent. If you wouldn't mind, we've had the chat box is very active, so I apologize to you guys if we can't get to everybody. That being said, I think there was a few kind of recurring questions in the chat box, so maybe if we just answer those real quick. Andy, I saw a few times about how long do you need to run a split test to kind of get accurate information or to know whether your change made the effect, what would you recommend?
Yeah, so it depends on two things. It depends on how large was the difference between the two, what we call variants. So again, if you go back to the water bottle example, if you choose one, you know, the image where the bottle is on its own versus the image where someone's drinking from it. Now, if it happens that one of those is actually way better than the other one, then you're going to get the answer to your question much sooner, because it'll show up in the data. Oh, look, this one's clearly winning, so the amount of time you have to wait will be less. And the other factor is how much data you're getting, how much traffic you're getting to your actual listing. The more traffic you have, the more data we have to analyze, and so the more the merrier. We generally say it's going to be around 2 weeks. It could be more, it could be less. But that's another reason why we actually recommend you start with things like price, for example, because changing your price is going to have a very big effect on the test, and therefore that's a good one to start with, because you're going to get your answer quite quickly.
Excellent. There was a few other ones, and I know you kind of talked about this, but maybe you could reiterate or answer this question better about the order of your keywords for your back-end search terms. A few people said they've heard like the first 2 lines are the most important, or that you should put your more popular words at the beginning. Could you just touch on that again real quick, what you found from your particular testing?
Yeah, and I will. And again, what I really wanted to show with that was not so much these are some hard rules, listen to me, and this is the answer. The thing, because what I've noticed is that I've heard a lot of this information from other people, and they've been wrong, because then I've gone in and done a test, and I can see straight away, look at this, I can just change my keywords here, and I can immediately see, within 20 minutes, I can see the effect on Amazon. So the point I'm trying to make there is that if you think that the first 2 lines are better, well then you can just prove that. All you do is just move your keywords into the first 2 lines, save your listing, wait 20 minutes and see if your rank has changed. So that's the great thing about what I'm saying. But as regards that, I haven't noticed any difference in the order myself. But after this, I might go away and test that, see how it is.
Fantastic, thank you. Gen or Pat, do you have one other question for Andy before we move on?
Just one question that we've seen come in a bunch, and I know it's easy to get caught up in the terminology. There's a few people who are asking about the difference between keywords when we talk about organic or back-end keyword content, and in keywords as it relates to sponsored products or advertising. The verbiage is very similar, so I could see it's easy to get mixed up there. And again, when Andy was talking about, Andy, if I'm not mistaken, you're talking about keywords back-end, you're talking about content that's tied to the listing, separate from sponsored products, which is those are, you will bid on those in a manual campaign of sponsored products. And you're talking about content.
Oh yeah, this is all just content. Yeah.
Perfect. And it's similar with verbiage when we're talking about rankings. You're referring to search rankings for a given search term on Amazon. You're not talking about BSR, bestseller rank, as it relates to a category or subcat, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Perfect. Beautiful.
So Andy, you did recommend not using a keyword rank tracker because it time to populate the data. Do you have other recommendations other than just manually keying it in?
No, not really. I mean, manually is the best way to do it. Hey, maybe there's a tool there. We could go and build it. But
so I did get a sneak peek at Greg, and perhaps Greg might have a little hack on that, but was wondering if you had any ideas.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just know, but the reason why you don't want to use rank tracking software is because, as with rank tracking software, usually when you stick your keywords in first, they'll immediately tell you what rank you're at. But after that, there's not like they're updating every 5 minutes. They're not checking every 5 minutes. So you can't use that for this purpose. Just the old reliable way of just going in and searching through Amazon is the best.
Fantastic. Well, Greg, I might have stolen some of your thunder. I don't know, but maybe I could see some of your hacks for listing optimizations. Yeah,
absolutely. So with that being said, I put together a few hacks. In my opinion, these are kind of like lesser known type items that a lot of people aren't using that are pretty cool little things to know as far as listing optimization goes. So that being said, I'll go ahead and share my screen with you guys and then show these to you. All right. So, and I just put together 4 hacks here that I really like. So the first one is a way to get your main keywords into your canonical URL. So when I say that, I know it's probably kind of small for some of the people here, but we see like Amazon.com/ and then you see a few keywords here. I may be saying that wrong, but I guess the SEO guys refer to that as your canonical URL. And this has been shown to have an impact in your Google rankings, as well as potentially your Amazon rankings. And I found this little way to kind of recommend to Amazon which words to put in there. With that being said, it's possible it does change, but a lot of times it won't, and those kind of keywords will get stuck there. So the way to do that is when you're initially setting up a listing, only put the keyword, your main keywords, into the back end when you're setting this up. So with my bamboo marshmallow sticks here, let's say I wanted those 3 words, bamboo, marshmallow, and sticks, to be my canonical URL. What I would have done is, like, my product name, I would have done bamboo, manufacturer, marshmallow, and brand name sticks. And then I would have just saved my listing right then without putting in any other information. Well, I think they require you to put in your UPC, but I wouldn't have put in any other information, just those 3 words. And if you come back and then look at your listing like an hour later, you'll find that those words are the ones that have kind of stuck into your canonical URL. So it's just kind of a cool little hack. After they've created that, then that's when you go back into your listing, you edit it and put in your real product name, your real manufacturer, your real brand name, and so forth. And so it's just kind of a neat little hack to recommend to Amazon which words you want there. So the next one is a way to get the bestseller tag. So if we go to Amazon right now, I search for marshmallow sticks. For those of you familiar with Jungle Scout, this is a case study we did called Jungle Sticks. So if you search this marshmallow sticks, this is us right here to the number 2 spot. And you see we have this little bestseller badge here, okay? So I'll teach you a little hack of a good way to get the bestseller badge, or the easiest way to get it, because I do believe it improves your conversions, or at least your sessions, is find out which subcategory is the least competitive, okay? So I search here for marshmallow sticks. I can go in here and look at the results. So right now I'm in grill rotisseries as my subcategory, but I could go in here and I could check barbecue skewers, all right? So I clicked on barbecue skewers. I'm just gonna find one of these items that's in it. I'll go in and I'm gonna click on barbecue skewers right here. And what this is going to do is this is going to take me to the best sellers in that particular subcategory. All right. Now, I want to see which subcategory is the least competitive. And the way to do this is to see what is the rank of the parent category for the number 1 item in this subcategory. So this product right here is number 1 in the subcategory barbecue skewers. So I can scroll down here, look to see what the rank is in the parent category, and this one's 393 in home and kitchen, all right? So now I can go to, let's check barbecue tongs. I'm gonna click on this item. And so my last one was in home and kitchen. This one's patio, lawn, and garden, but this one's 1400. So that's a little bit worse rank, all right? Let's try to check one more. Let's try barbecue tool sets. Whoops. I'll click on this first item. So let's see. This one's 79 in patio, lawn, and garden. So if I compare that to the last item that was 1400 in patio, lawn, and garden, this would be a much more competitive niche to get that bestsellers badge. So essentially you want to find which subcategory has the worst bestsellers rank in the parent category, and that would be the easiest one for you to get the bestsellers badge in, okay? So after you found that, you can then request Amazon to switch your subcategory, all right? Now here's one caveat. It needs to be a subcategory that is directly related to your particular product. Otherwise, it could hurt your search terms or what words they'll show your product for on sponsored products. And the other caveat is starting in like January or February of this year, Amazon stopped allowing you to be in multiple subcategories. So this listing is a little bit older. You can see they're in 3 different subcategories. But if, for example, if we go back and look at our jungle sticks, you'll see we're only in 1 category. And actually, Amazon doesn't, I've asked them, and they won't add us to another category because, like I said, they stopped doing that in January, February this year of 2016. So now you have to decide one particular subcategory that you want to be in. They will change you to a different subcategory. So if the one I was in was super competitive, I could ask to be changed to a different one, but it needs to be relevant to my particular product. And I have to know that I definitely want to be in that subcategory instead of the one that I'm in. So hopefully that makes sense. That's a pretty cool hack to get the bestsellers badge because I think it really does improve your sessions and conversions. So it's really nice to have. All right. And real quick, this slide just kind of talks about what I just talked there. So if I were just to recap, we search for our particular product. We see what other subcategories Amazon already deems relevant to my particular product. You look in each of those subcategories, find which one is least competitive, and I do that by checking the rank in the parent category. And then if that's a good category for me, then I can ask Amazon to change my subcategory to that one. All right, here's another cool hack that I think people don't know. And you can find out whether Amazon is ranking you for particular keywords or not, okay? Or if they think that that keyword's relevant to your product. Now, on a few strange situations, I've seen Amazon not rank you for a product, even if it's in like your backend keywords or even in your title or your description and so forth. So if it seems like to you that you're not being ranked for something, maybe you're not getting ad impressions or for whatever reason, you can easily see whether Amazon ranks you for that keyword by just typing in your ASIN as well as the particular keyword. So here's the example. We did our ASIN plus marshmallow, and right there, you'll see that Amazon shows a result. But if you tried our ASIN and burger, then you'll see the error that we have found 0 results for this particular ASIN and keyword combo. So that's a pretty cool little hack. It's good for kind of troubleshooting problems, as well as just to make sure that you definitely are ranking for your main keywords. And so if you aren't ranking for it and you think you should, I would first go in, see that it's either in your title or description or bullet points or backend keywords or backend search terms. If it's not, then you can contact Seller Central, see what the deal is, or you could try a different order. You can maybe put in commas in there and it's messing it up, so you can remove the commas, or you can try some other troubleshooting techniques kind of like that. And the last little hack that I don't see enough people taking advantage of is getting high quality reviews, especially early on, so that they're upvoted by customers. So again, if we go back to the Jungle Sticks listing, just because I'm using this as an example, when we were doing our initial promotional giveaways, we tried to give coupons to people who often leave video or picture reviews. And the advantage of doing this is it's really nice to have pictures or video reviews high up on your reviews, your listing here, because these are the first ones that people see. So when you scroll down here, the first one you see is this nice video review, which is great. You know, the second one's a top reviewer, and then right down here I have some pictures, which is nice. If your 500th reviewer is a video review, oftentimes those will get lost at the depths of your product reviews, and they don't get upvoted up, and then they never end up here in the #1 spot. So a little hack is to get the picture video reviews early on to make sure that they get the upvote, so they kind of stick to your listing in these top spots. Another way to increase the number of picture and video reviews you get is to ask for them. So I imagine most people on the webinar here are already using Review Kick or some other type of email responder series, so that people, after they purchase your product, they're getting an email. And a lot of people ask for reviews in these email campaigns, which I do, and I'm a big fan of. And you can simply put in there, like, in my opinion, the things that work the best are kind of like funny or just kind of like cute little sayings or whatever, what have you, to try to get reviews. So for instance, like in my email campaign for Jungle Sticks, I might say, we would love to see your kids using their marshmallow sticks by the fire. If you get a chance, snap a picture and attach it to your review. Or you could say something along the lines of, what's the funniest thing that you've ever roasted on your marshmallow stick? Snap a picture or a video of it and attach it to your review. And what you'll find is, just by sparking that interest in someone, that a lot of people actually will do that, and they will post it to the reviews, which is really nice. Just a few extra little tips on that is, make sure that when you are sending these emails to people, that they are helpful, they are well timed, you're not being annoying, and that you're truthfully like trying to help them. Say like, is it what you expected? Is there anything else I can do to help? If not, I'd be happy to give you a refund, all these kinds of things. And then after you've kind of like built rapport with them, that's when you say, hey, what is the funniest thing you've ever roasted on your marshmallow stick? Post a picture. Or, of course, you adjust it for your particular product. So yeah, this kind of shows, of course, I'm using Review Kick to do this because it's one of our products. You can use any email series to do it. But I'd recommend setting something like that up to make sure that you don't forget and you are asking for the reviews. So do we have any questions, guys?
Yeah, so somebody, there has been talk about your fourth hack as far as email reviews. Just to be careful, recent changes to Amazon policy, cracking down on it. I don't know if you mentioned, but including just a caveat that it was purchased at a discount, does offset and stay within Amazon's terms of service. Any other recommendations to make sure that once they do get a product review, that it sticks?
Yeah, so just to clarify here, according to Amazon's terms of service, you can give away products at a discounted rate in exchange for a review. Okay, so this is that is perfectly clear in Amazon's terms of service that you are allowed to do that. Like Gen said, the caveat is they must leave a disclaimer. So it's important. You do need to be careful when you're doing this to make sure the reviewers they're giving the coupons to do leave the disclaimer. That is important. As far as other kind of like caveats, I've never really had any problem with reviews like sticking, as long as I'm following the terms of service, okay, which I always do, and I always recommend everyone else to do. So make sure your reviewers leaving the disclaimer. I usually give my products away for like $1 or $2, so they are purchasing the product. Amazon knows that because it's in their system. They leave the review, and yeah, it works well. And as of today, September 27th in 2016, all that is absolutely by Amazon's terms of service, and that's very clear.
Awesome. So can you just elaborate a little bit on your email automation system or your sequence, as far as like timing, maybe best practices of what works, how many, to really nail that relevancy, timing, and add value?
Absolutely. So this is going to vary from product to product. I'll tell you what I do with my marshmallow sticks. With my marshmallow sticks, when someone first purchases the product, the day that it's shipped, I just send them a message to let them know it's shipped. And to add value, I give them recipes for like the ultimate s'mores, or ultimate, the ultimate s'mores is what I call it. So it's like a banana with chocolate, marshmallows, and all kinds of stuff in it. So that right away is adding value. I'm building rapport with my customer. I'm making them happy. I'm letting them know it's shipped. I'm giving them this recipe. They didn't even know they were getting it. So a lot of them are happy. A lot of them reply like, oh man, it was delicious. Thank you so much. So that's cool. The second one, I'll send them the day after it was delivered. So the first one was the day it was shipped. The second one I do the day after it was delivered. And I just say like, Rickard showed you got this. I forget. I give some other kind of value add, like I think a few little tips. I think I tell them that if they soak it in water, that it's less likely for it to catch on fire when it's in when you're roasting your marshmallows. But changing on your particular product, you can make sure that you're giving value to your customer. And then I also just say, like, if there's anything wrong with it, just let me know. I'd be happy to give you a full refund or help in any way I can. And then hopefully that protects you from negative reviews if there was something wrong with their experience. Like, say the UPS man said he delivered it, but it was stolen off their porch. And then some people will try to leave a bad review on your listing because of that, even though it's not your fault. So someone like that you're hoping to catch, they would tell you that and say, oh yeah, I'll send you another one right away and I'll give you a refund and whatever else to make you happy. And then the last one, I just touch base. I say, I just want to make sure that you're enjoying your marshmallow sticks. If you don't mind, would you leave a product review? And then that's when you can do something like I try to just be like personal, like someone they can relate to, like, say like the coolest place I've ever roasted marshmallow is in the Redwood Forest. By what campfire do you enjoy roasting marshmallows next to? Like, if you wouldn't mind, snap a picture and leave it in the review. So there's some things you can do that kind of are different from the everyday emails that these people are receiving, and they're more likely to respond to positively.
Awesome. Thanks. Andy, Pat, anything that you have to add or questions from the chat box?
Yeah, just one quick one. I'm not sure what the breakdown is among the attendees here, but it looks like we are getting a solid amount of question from vendors who are super excited about some of these and want to know how they can do them. And unfortunately, the tools that are available to 3P sellers, that is sellers using Seller Central to interact on Amazon, and vendors aren't always the same. And so, like, for example, the messaging system that Greg was talking about, which is really cool, a great way to interact with your customers, build lifetime customer value, not available, I should say, through Vendor Central, because you're not interacting directly with your end users. And for review giveaway programs, there's Vine there, which is expensive and can sometimes be limited in the volume that you can do relative to some of the 3P tools. So we'll talk a little bit more about that too. But good to know that there's some vendors on here as well. There's some good stuff in here for you guys.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Well, Pat, with that, maybe we can dig into some of your slides.
I think it's a fair way to go.
All right, we've been waiting. Last but not least, Pat Petriello.
All right, cool. Let me see if I can do this without. Does that look proper?
Looks great.
Cool. Again, my name is Pat Petriello. I'm here from CPC Strategy. We're a digital marketing agency that essentially matches customer search intent with your product inventory as a retailer. That's across Google, AdWords, Facebook, Amazon. As Gen mentioned at the beginning, I'm a former professional seller myself in the wireless accessories space, was managing a catalog of almost 1 million SKUs. By the time I had built that up, had worked up in Seattle for Amazon as well inside their seller services division. And like I said, now at CPC heading up marketplace strategy. So I've been fortunate enough / frustrated enough to interact with Amazon from both the seller side, inside the mothership, as I like to call it, working at Amazon itself, and now on the agency side, where it's been really great to be able to work with sellers in different verticals and different size catalogs. And so one of the things I want to touch on today are potentially some strategies for those sellers who have large catalogs or diverse catalogs across multiple verticals, to give you some strategies to how to do some of these really awesome tactics that you've just been told about and how to do them at scale. Before I jump into that too, I also just wanted to give a thank you. Give a thank you to the team here for allowing me to participate on this webinar, and all of you who have joined today and who are putting in your questions. Without your attendance, without your participation, we don't have this community, and we're talking to the air, which is a lot less fun. So with that, let's jump right into it. And one of the first things I want to do is take a step back, because even a lot of the questions that are coming in, we're seeing, why does this work? How does this work? How do we get this to happen? And like anything in life, one of the best ways to approach that is to think about what are the rules of the game, because that's really all Amazon is. It's a complex board game or video game. let's consider what the rules of the game are first, and having an understanding of that game, we can tailor our strategies and our tactics to take advantage of that. And so you'll see I have at the top of this slide is who is the audience for Amazon content, right? We heard a lot of great tips and hacks about how to optimize titles, how to optimize descriptions, bullet points, search terms, keywords, character limits, all those good things. But who are we writing them for? And what we want to keep in mind is that there are two audiences for all of your content. Your audiences are one, a machine. It's called Amazon's A9 search. And that's essentially, it's their search system that indexes content to produce relevancy for organic search ranking. The other audience for your content is, of course, humans. We are trying to, via a two-dimensional flat screen on Amazon, mimic the same buying experience for a customer that they would get if they were actually able to walk into a store and pick up, for example, the blue water bottle that Andy had mentioned before. And we don't have to just guess at what drives organic listings on Amazon, because they kind of tell us to a large degree what's going on. And if you look at this third paragraph here, factors such as degree of text match, which is relevancy. Andy touched on this a little bit. You've got 1,000 characters of search term space to use in your back-end search term content. You want to use that space on relevant search terms. You can't just put, Justin Bieber or Rihanna or whomever it might be in your search terms because those are hot right now. If they don't relate to the fact that you're selling a water bottle, they're not going to help you rank. So factors such as text match, price, availability meaning consistent inventory, selection, and this is the big one, I could put this in font size 70, sales history, determine where your products rank. So by having complete and relevant information, essentially by satisfying all the content fields available to you, you have an opportunity to increase visibility and sales. And let's just stop there even for a second. Think about how this, I like to call it the virtuous cycle. Think about how this works. The more your product gets found, the more it gets bought. This tells us that sales history is one of the most important factors in where your product ranks. So the more your product gets found, the more it gets bought. The more it gets bought, the more it moves up the rankings. The more it moves up the rankings, the more it gets found, it gets bought, and so forth. You essentially accelerate a flywheel of performance for your product. And so everything that we're doing and we're endeavoring to do at CPC and really anywhere for our sellers is to increase discoverability and buyability, the rate at which your products get found and the rate at which your products get bought. The reason I tell you this is to consider when you're making content optimizations that you're appeasing two different, very discrete audiences. One's a human that's going to hit your detail page, read your title, look at your images, look at your product feature bullet points, look at your product decision, and essentially make the decision, is this the product that I want? That will increase conversion rate. The other audience that you're optimizing content for, and I'm sorry if some of you can hear a car alarm in the background, I apologize for that. I'll try to stay focused if you guys can too. It's not my car.
Pat, I just want to make sure that wasn't your fire alarm. You didn't need to exit the building.
No, if that happens, I will definitely let you know.
Okay.
I do apologize. I know that can be annoying.
No worries. No worries. It's live. It happens.
Yeah, it's okay. Hey, I'd rather address it than pretend it's not going on. Look, Greg just turned it off right there. Much obliged for the magic touch. All right, cool. So keep in mind your two audiences when you're optimizing for content. We talked about titles and some different ways to look at titles and the content that should be in your titles. And just a quick aside here that there's not a one-size-fits-all philosophy. And there's also different rules that apply to different categories on Amazon. We talked about the rules of the game. For example, if you're an apparel seller, you really only have 80 characters of content space. If you go over 80 characters, Amazon's going to start suppressing your listings. You're going to go, how come my sessions dropped off for these ASINs, can't find them anymore? If you're in electronics, you have character listing space in your titles up to 250 characters, so you have a lot more room to play with. I'm already preparing for everybody barraging me in the chat box saying, my competitor has more characters than that in their title, what's going on? Yes, you're right. We do see instances where some content is grandfathered in. That can happen. But if you have a large catalog, if you have 500 products, 1,000 products, if you sell across 10 different verticals, it's going to be really tough for you to manually go into Seller Central one by one, pull up each of those, edit title, update content for each of those, and then see how you're doing. That's going to, you could do it, but you're probably going to need to hire a staff of people to do it, and it might take you the rest of time. One of the things that you consider to help scale out that process is to identify a uniform, almost concatenation type system where you can take product content data points from your flat file upload, and you can do that through MWS. You can do that through software tools. You can just do that through Excel uploads in Seller Central. And you can use that standardized concatenation across all the products in that vertical. So for example, let's say you have bedding. You might want to put your brand and in the pattern and in the thread count and in the material and in the size and in the color. And that's going to be your concatenation that you apply across your catalog. So if you sell 150 different SKUs worth of bedding products, instead of having to go into each one by one, you identify what your optimal formula is for that category, and you can apply that across your catalog. In this way, you can make content changes at scale and more quickly. I don't want to go too deep into back-end search terms because I think Andy did a really great job unpacking that, going through that, and presented what I thought was some really fascinating data around how that has an impact here. And Greg also, went pretty deep there into titles, and so I want to make sure you guys are not getting repeat information. And so one of the fields I wanted to touch on a little bit here is, and we've seen questions about this, are the product bullet points. The bullet points are the product features that you see on an Amazon detail page. These are indexed for search, meaning I talked about the two audiences before. One's a human, one's Amazon's A9 search algorithm. Amazon's A9 search algorithm does index your bullet points for rankings. Now in our testing, we found similar results to what Andy talked about at the beginning, which is that these don't have a super significant impact on sales. It's been the title, it's been the images, it's been price that has had the greater impact. However, again, we talked about your two audiences and where you can help yourself here with these bullet points, more so even in driving additional visibility through indexed keywords, is through communicating the value of your product to your customers. The last check mark bullet point here highlighted in blue. What you're trying to do is give your shoppers confidence. They hit your detail page, you're in the buy box. Huzzah! You're only halfway there. Until they add to cart and check out, you haven't done anything. So what you want to do is use your bullet points as fields that you can highlight your product features, communicate the unique value, the unique selling proposition of your product. And also, I would be uniform here. Everybody talks about how it's difficult to do brand building on Amazon. That's true. But if you can maintain a consistent order of your bullet points across your product catalog, you start to create a clear, clean, consistent experience with your brand on Amazon. Take a quick aside here for a second too, because I did see questions during Andy and during Greg's about, hey, I'm having problems updating product content too. And we should be clear when we're talking about this, especially for you 3P sellers, is that the way Amazon detail page content ownership works is that if you're a 3P reseller, meaning you're a third-party reseller, you're not the brand owner, you have the least contribution score, is what it's called within Amazon. You have the least weight for the content that you submit. So let's say, again, Andy, Greg, and I are all selling the same product. We might submit 4 different titles for that product. Well, Amazon's not showing 4 different titles on a product detail page. They're only showing 1. If Gen happens to be a vendor and he's selling that product direct to Amazon, his content's going to have the highest weight. It's going to wipe out all of our content. If there is no vendor offer, but let's say Andy's a third-party seller that's actually the brand manufacturer and he's registered his product in brand registry, well, now he has the highest contribution score, and whatever he applies is also going to overcome content. Andy also had a really interesting tidbit in there about how that content starts to crystallize and it becomes more difficult to augment that over time, which I thought was really interesting. But anyway, just keep that in mind. If you're banging your head against the wall trying to update bullet points, it could be that you're not in brand registry, you're not the brand owner, you're selling against an asymmetric vendor offer, and you can submit bullet points till you're blue in the face and they're not going to update. So keep that in mind. I don't want to see you guys waste your time. Hard for me to talk about what good product bullet points look and sound like, and then not also say, hey, here's an example of what they are. I'm not a stakeholder in this company at all. They're not a CPC client. Honest about that. These guys, Jackery, just do a really good job with content. I should have included a larger screenshot too to show they've got like 7 or 8 high-res zoomable images. So their images are awesome. Their titles are awesome. They've got great reviews, but check out their bullet points here. I think they do a really great, clear, consistent job. All caps essentially for almost mini titles in each of their bullet points. And they're highlighting for each of these a unique value prop of this product. That it's compact, that it works for smartphones, that it's a portable charger, that it's an external battery. And what they're doing is they're giving the buyer the confidence to say, yeah, this is the thing that I want to buy. It's just like in the store. You would pick this up off the shelf. You'd read the instructions. You'd read all the product features. And you do make the decision whether to buy. This is all about mimicking that experience to increase conversion. This, I think, is a little bit interesting, and I know this slide's a little text heavy, so bear with me here. Is that we're talking about content, and we're talking about how content obviously impacts organic ranking, which it absolutely does. That's essentially the core of what we're talking about on this webinar. But product content also has an effect on paid placements. And when I say paid placements, I'm talking about sponsored products and to a lesser extent, other AMS ads. Those are only available to vendors. But you all have access to sponsored products, whether you're a third party or a vendor. So this should be relevant to all of you. And again, one of the ways I like to approach this is instead of just saying, hey, do this and do that and listen to me, it's let's actually unpack how Amazon systems work, the rules of the game, and then we can tailor our strategy to take advantage of the rules of the game. It looks like some of you guys are having trouble reading this, which is fine. I can talk you through it. It's not rocket science here. And so basically how the sponsored products auction works is that when somebody searches on Amazon, Amazon will find all the potential ads that contain keywords that were bid on if it's a manual sponsored products campaign. Now, if you are using an automatic campaign, automatic campaigns and sponsored products are not driven by keywords. They're driven by product content. The classic garbage in, garbage out scenario. If your titles are poor, if your descriptions are poor, if your backend search terms are poor, if you haven't spent time to curate and properly optimize your product bullet point features, those are not only going to have an impact on the conversion rate of your page and where your products show up in organic rankings, but it's also going to be bad information that informs the direction of your automatic sponsored products campaigns. Now, once Amazon's done that, when somebody does a search in the sponsored products auction, they remove any ads that aren't winning the buy box. From the comments, I gather that a number of you are resellers, and so you might be fiercely competing on Amazon for buy box percentage. One of the good things about this is that you'll never spend money on a click that will drive to a detail page where you won't get the sale, because if you're not in the buy box, your ad's not going to show up. So that's a good thing. Okay, great. You've been on a keyword. Yeah.
Sorry, just on that point, is there any correlation between your bid and your buy box percentage?
No, that's a really good question. And those are two different dynamics that are going on Amazon. And there's about a dozen factors that influence who wins the buy box at any given moment. The two most important of those are fulfillment method and price. So Amazon's essentially trying to offer the best offer to customers at any given moment. And there's, like I said, there's about a dozen factors. There's shipping latency, there's seller score, and Amazon wins the buy box a lot of the times. And of course, people get upset about that. But Amazon also bosses all of those categories objectively too. So there's a reason that they mostly win the buy box. For sponsored products, that's entirely different. That's winning an auction for placement on the SERP. Again, does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, cool. Let's keep going through this here. So, okay, the keyword matches the customer search term. You're in the buy box. Then those ads are analyzed for relevance. So if you're advertising sunglasses and you're bidding on boat shoes, and somebody searches for boat shoes and you're in the buy box, you would satisfy 1 and 2, but then Amazon would analyze your ad and say, these are sunglasses. It doesn't make any sense to show sunglasses for search for boat shoes, and so it's not going to show up. Basically, what's left is what Amazon uses to show Amazon ads in those order. And then the ad rank is based on the bid, right? Whatever you've bid, your CPC there, and the likelihood that the ad will get clicked. So Amazon does use click information and click history as a significant data point to decide where your products show up on the sponsored products, either in the right rail or in the 2 bid plus positions that are at the top of the SERP, on the carousel and the detail pages, all the wonderful places that you can find sponsored product ads. One little nugget to take away from this too is if you look at 4A, campaigns that have been active longer have a better chance of showing ads. This is not my opinion. This is not CPC's opinion. This is what Amazon actually tells you. The link to the Seller Central page is even on the bottom of the screen. If your campaigns have been running longer, they have a better chance of showing ads. This is similar for Google too, if you guys use AdWords Google Shopping. And so I can't give you an exact data point on what that difference is. We're doing testing on that right now, but we have anecdotally seen that to be true, which is interesting. So again, to maximize your sponsored products ad chance of receiving an impression, again, why does impressions matter? Think of that virtuous cycle. The more people find your stuff, the more they buy your stuff. The more they buy your stuff, the more you rank, or the better you rank, the more people find and buy your stuff. Make sure you're in the buy box. Use relevant keywords. Bid competitively. A lot of people come to us, they say, hey, I want all this traffic. I only want to bid 5 cents a click. I want that too. That'd be great. I'd be sitting on a beautiful island if that's the way it worked. Unfortunately, not the case. And this last one, and this ties back into what Andy and Greg were talking about, there's some upfront work. Make sure you're hydrating all those data fields that you need, title, brand, description, that sponsored products uses to make decisions about where to hydrate your products. In the overall conversation about how do I get my products to rank higher, how am I able to sell more products on Amazon, sponsored products is one of the most important tools we have found across the board with all our sellers in almost every vertical except for apparel. Sorry, apparel sellers, if you do an apparel search, you'll notice that the sponsored products does not show up on the right rail the same way it does if you searched for, cookware. It's one of the most important levers we can use. It drives a ton of incremental traffic, and you can use a lot of these strategies and the hacks that Greg talked about in conjunction with sponsored products. So yeah, you want to get that bestseller tag. You want to get product reviews. You want to do giveaways in a responsible way that stay within the lines of Amazon's TOS, because I don't want to see any, if you get suspended, it doesn't help you at all. And then you can use sponsored products to help continue that flow of sales velocity. And sales velocity is really what ends up driving that organic ranking. So it's not, hey, should I do sponsored products or should I do hack number 3? That's not really the key to success on Amazon. Like anything in life, this is a comprehensive approach, and the more tenets that you can tie together and apply for each of your products into your catalog, the more successful that you're going to be. Lastly, and I hesitated to throw this in when I was putting these together because I wasn't really sure if there was going to be any vendors on here. Gladly that there are, and this is for A+ detail page content. So I'm now going to get a bunch of cranky 3P sellers going, how come I can't get this? And I'm going to get a bunch of quasi-cranky vendors, Vendor Central users who are saying, does this really even matter? A+ detail page content, first off, is below the fold, meaning you have to scroll down to get it. On a product detail page, you'll see there's sometimes images and hero images and videos and cool custom formatting and different fonts and things like that. And where this helps is that you can increase your customer conversion, and you can pre-address customer search barriers. And where we find this to be the most important and the most impactful are for highly technical products and products with a high ASP, which is a high average selling price. So I don't need an A+ detail page content for a $2 box of rubber bands to tell you these rubber bands are made out of rubber. If you stretch them, they will hold things together. Most customers can piece that together on their own, but you can see the example here for a GoPro camera, which is really technical component, a lot of different tech specs that you're going to want to know about, different use cases. And so A+ detail page content can be used to help really differentiate your products against your competitors. We actually have found that there has been an increase in conversion rate across these. And so when the question is going to come across that says, hey, Pat, the A+ detail page, does A+ detail page content actually help me rank higher? Well, using that content for the right products helps you increase your conversion rate. Increasing your conversion rate means you move more sales velocity. Sales velocity is one of the most important factors that goes into Amazon's organic SERP algorithm. So the answer to you, if you follow the dominoes, is that yes, that using A+ content to increase conversion can help you rank higher. Thank you guys again thank you everybody again to the guys at Jungle Scout for allowing me to participate on this. It's been great, and I'm sure we've got some questions in after that.
Thank you, Pat. That was fantastic. A lot of stuff there to unpack as well. There you go. But one question about A+. If you could just kind of go through your own calculation, offsetting the increase in conversion rate to the cost. I mean, at what point is it worth investing in A+?
Good question, and I'm going to give the worst answer that people hate, and that's it depends.
It depends.
Yeah, exactly. And the reason for that is it really does. It depends because A+ content doesn't have the same positive benefit across all products. And so that's why, again, even though I kind of joked about the box of rubber bands, is the impact on conversion rate is going to be pretty minimal if it's a product that people don't spend a lot of time investing thought into. For example, right, if you go to the store and you need a thing of toothpaste and you know what toothpaste brand, you walk down the toothpaste aisle in about 10 seconds, you grab the toothpaste that you need, and your purchase decision went from I need toothpaste to I grabbed it and it's in my cart in about 5 seconds. If you're buying a car or a house, your purchase process decision might take months or even a year to complete that purchase decision. And so the more equity that you're putting in a purchase, the more information that you need to make that decision, the more impactful that A+ content has. And that's why sometimes Amazon vendor managers will say, hey, you should have A+ content across your catalog. And sometimes we find that it's best to selectively apply where you have A+ content for the products that really make sense. And I think Andy said it best is this can all be tested. Run A+ content, you know the day it went live, and you can track your results before and after.
A+, just on that point about testing, A+ content is through Vendor Central, right? Not Seller Central.
That is correct. A+ content's available to Vendor Central. Now, there are certain Amazon programs that allow you to get access to, like Amazon exclusives, for example, which I'm not going to go into a bunch of detail about now. You have to increase your commission to Amazon by 5%, which a lot of times is prohibitive. But that's an example of a 3P program that allows you to get access to A+ content. But other than that, yeah, for the most part, A+ content is restricted to vendors. And again, vendors are those manufacturers selling direct to Amazon. So if you see a detail page that says ships and sold by Amazon, that's a vendor offer.
Hey, Pat, do you have any experience with, this is a little bit of a hack, could potentially be against its terms of service, but signing up for Vendor Express, mailing in, say, like one order to them, getting A+ content, and then not fulfilling any more purchase orders for them. So you're just, at that point, selling FBA?
So, Greg, at this point, you're trying to get me in trouble, right?
Have you heard about anyone doing it? Do you know anything about that?
You're talking about, your question's about 3Ps, using Vendor Express to get access to AMS?
Yeah, to get access to set up A+ content, and then after that, you would just start selling on FBA again. You wouldn't fulfill any more of their purchase orders. Yeah,
so we have seen that. I just picked my words wisely here. Yeah, we have seen that, and that can be done. The thing I would be careful about here is technically, Vendor Express and the Vendor Express tools are really only available to products that you have a vendor offer against. And one thing that we have seen is we've seen somewhat inconsistent policing by Amazon. And so, for example, there might be a product that you do exactly what you said. You sign up for Vendor Express. Vendor Express is a self-service vendor portal, different than Vendor Central. You don't need an invite for a buyer. You get a PO, and then, Greg, just like you were saying, you use your access to what they call EMC in there, which is Enhanced Marketing Content, which is just marketing speak for A+ content. One of the things we have actually seen in real time now is we have seen content pulled. We have seen AMS ads that get paused because every now and then Amazon will do a pass that says, does this product really have a vendor offer? And if it's no, you technically aren't supposed to have access to those. So will that work? The answer is sometimes yes. Is it something you can rely on always? I'd say no, because the risk isn't just anecdotal or kind of rumored. We've actually seen sellers get kicked off from that. So I guess the answer to that question, it depends on how risk adverse you are, but my job is to make sure you guys do it with eyes wide open and understand the full risk of those behaviors.
Cool, thanks. That makes sense. You see the same thing with people putting like little logos or watermarks on their main image and stuff, right? Like sometimes you get caught, sometimes you don't. But if you do, your listing might get suppressed. It could potentially be worse. So I always prefer to just play by the book, but I was just curious your thoughts on it.
No, agreed. And I'm the same way. I like to go white hat. That way I can sleep at night. And the worst thing you can do is wake up to the seller violation policy or to the, hey, you've been booted and that really sucks. And so sometimes you just have to see, hey, is it worth it to play with that fire? And for the most part, it's not.
Yeah, good point.
I have just a
Any
question.
other questions?
Yeah. I've also wondered this. Maybe you could tell me your thoughts on it, as to why. I understand, obviously, if you've got a well-converting product because you put in the effort, that Amazon's going to reward you because they make money when you sell better. But if you're paying for advertising to drive people to your listing, and that's where you're getting your sales, I've always thought it was like an error in their algorithm. I know that it's true, but it does seem like a mistake Amazon's made to therefore increase your natural search ranking as a result of the sales you get through paid search.
So you're wondering, like, why would Amazon use paid search performance as a factor in where you show up organically?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, that is a good question. And to me, I kind of look at this as an accelerant for the truth in one way. So if you bid high enough and your product's relevant and you show up on sponsored product search and people find you and buy you, it's essentially validation that customers like your product. If you're showing up and getting a lot of impressions and you're not getting clicked and you're not really adding any sales, that's the reverse validation that people are like, I'm not really that interested in this product. And then in that way, your sales velocity isn't really going to increase. And then so you're not really going to see a bump in your organic ranking. Anytime I think about these, because it's a really good question, it's one of those I could like have a beer and talk about for an hour, is I go back to what are Amazon's goals? And to me, Amazon's goals are to create the best buying experience possible for the customers. And that's just not me being an Amazon hack. I don't work there anymore. And their other goal is to just increase conversions. So they just want the products that people are going to buy the most. And if that sponsored product data shows them that, hey, once people see this thing, they buy it a lot, then that could be a real signal to them that says this should show up higher on your organic SERP.
So would you expect then, if you've been running ads for a long time, that effect then would no longer exist because they already know that people are buying for those keywords? So, you know.
No, actually I wouldn't, because from what we've seen is sales velocity is such an important factor, and that sales velocity latency window, I don't know what it is, but it seems to be, let's call it about a month, that Amazon's looking, because right, everything on Amazon is what have you done for me lately? And so we've seen sellers try to turn on sponsored products, boost their listings, then say, okay, cool, they're up there now, they'll self-sustain, turn sponsored products off, and then drop because of the accompanying drop in sales velocity. So I would say no, that you can use sponsored products to help boost that sales rank, and then you probably need to keep it on to sustain. In that way, one of the strongest strategies we've seen is if you take the product review and the giveaway strategy and the content optimization that you guys went into depth, and you do that as part of a product launch process, you get a product nice and optimized with a lot of sales history and a lot of reviews. It's kind of like planting a seed, and in sponsored products is just keeping that seed watered, and then it's going to maintain its position at the top of the SERP or near the top of the SERP. One caveat with all of that I should mention is that these strategies and tactics, the product is of high quality. I know that seems to be common sense, but If you have a product that doesn't really rank that well, or just isn't that valuable, or that breaks, or isn't that reliable, ultimately that it's going to be really, really hard to drag that product to the top of the SERP using anything. And so I think Greg touched on this too, is ranking in the right category, but also making sure that you've got a high quality product that people actually want.
Hey Pat, so a couple questions earlier about larger catalogs and if you have variations. Kind of a two-part question. So how do you handle parent and child listings of the same product? So is there a strategy to keep them the same or different? And related to that, for products with variations, do you recommend doubling down on keywords per ASIN or keeping keywords unique and therefore expanding your reach?
Yeah, great questions, both of them. And so let's start with the first half of that, which is strategy around parent-child variations. And just kind of a quick 101, those are those products that have different, size or color variations. So you see it a lot in apparel, right? I've got this shirt and it comes in small, medium, large, extra large, green, blue, red, white, whatever. So my philosophy around that for the most part is that you do see a real benefit from linking your child variations under a parent. There's a couple of reasons for that. First off, the reviews are shared. So let's say, for example, I sell this shirt in green and blue, and I've been selling it for 6 months, and I've got 100 product reviews against it. And I also have sales equity against that listing. Cool, I've sold a bunch. It's not on the ground floor anymore. I have nurtured this baby of a child variation, and it has grown up, and it's making sales. Now, if I start to manufacture this product in a new color in red, if I launch that on its own, separate from that existing child family, it would have 0 sales history, 0 product reviews. It would be starting at the ground floor on its own in the wild, fighting against every other shirt in Amazon. However, if I made that part of my existing variation, on day one, that product would launch with 500 product reviews, because again, those reviews are shared across the family. They're not unique to each individual child. They're shared across the family, and there's now already sales equity on that listing. So if somebody's searching for flannel shirt and maybe they find the green one, when they click into that listing, they're going to see green, blue, red, white, and they're going to go, this is great, because one click led to the discovery of 4 products. If you keep them separate, think of that same click. Oh, I found this green flannel shirt. Click it. What did they find? They found 1 product. They just found the green. They might go back out and buy a blue flannel shirt from a competitor because they don't even know that you have that color available. Now, essentially, just to finish your thought on that, it's one way that your product listings can kind of reach down the strongest variations and lift up children. We've actually done testing on this, and we've seen some pretty cool impact from that. The second was, do I differentiate content specifically for search terms between child variations, and I think between the child and parent as well? Couple things to consider here. The differences in the variants might drive you to have different search terms because people will find them in different ways. So if I'm looking for a green flannel shirt, green is a key component of my search. I specifically want a green shirt. If I have green, white, red, blue, and I don't want to call them all red or all blue, so I should be including for each of them the specific color that goes with that. For each of my smalls, I want to indicate that they're small or medium or large, depending on what the size are. So yeah, for those variations, you're going to want to tailor them based on how those variants are different, because that's the way people find stuff, and you want to appeal to that. There are going to be some terms that stay consistent, right? So let's say you have flannel shirt in there or men's shirt. Well, that's going to be consistent no matter what the color or size is, so you can keep those. Now, one final thing to keep in mind here, and I'm not going to remember the categories off the top of my head, but if you go into Seller Central and you search for parent-child relationships, the way parent-child variations show up on the SERP differs by category. So for example, if you're in, I'm going to think it's like apparel, sports, luggage, and maybe one other category I can't remember off the top of my head, you're going to see all the product content associated with the parent variation on the SERP. And so you want to make sure you don't just leave all that parent information blank. In other categories, so like in home and kitchen and whatnot, you might, it's going to actually show the best selling child variation product details. So it'll show the title and it'll show the price and it'll show the details for the best-selling child variation. So how that functions is going to differ based on what category you sell in. You're definitely going to want to be aware of that because it's impacting how your customers interact with your products on the server.
Fantastic. Thank you for that.
So, Greg, if you had a question?
No.
All right. So I did have one last question. We were aiming for 75 minutes. We're just over. So I had one more question for you, Pat, and then just wanted to ask each of you guys for your one main takeaway for listing optimizations, everybody who stuck around. But this has been great so far. So there was talk, Pat, about basically an image. So it's like a sell sheet that's included in the product description. So I think it's an image and it looks like maybe some HTML type stuff. Have you seen this? How is it possible? And then, yeah, is there ways that people could replicate this?
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand. I'm not sure I understand the question. Are you talking about using HTML and descriptions? You're talking about A+ content?
Well, so it seems like it is the equivalent of A+ content, just one large image posted in the product description area, and it's via Seller Central account. So yeah, if you have seen it or not, but there was some talk in the chat box about it.
Yeah, okay, I think I know what you're talking about, and I saw some questions come in about this too when Andy and Greg were talking about. And so, light HTML, technically Amazon says, hey, HTML is not accepted in product content, and so we've actually seen that. We've seen a lot grandfather in because it used to be accepted. But similar to the conversation Greg and I were having before about images with watermarks or about with Vendor Express, it's not 100% policed all the time, and so we have seen light HTML. When I say light HTML, I'm just talking about bullet points, bold, italics. Less so images because that's a bit more involved, and so that normally won't be able to go through. I think I'm talking about the question you're asking too. There's also a comparison widget that you'll sometimes see, and then sometimes it's an Amazon widget or coming out of A+ content. But yeah. For your descriptions, you can try basic HTML. I would only try it for one SKU at a time, see if it sticks. I wouldn't try to apply it across, if you've got 5,000 products in your catalog and then you say, uh-oh, I just maybe screwed over my whole catalog.
All right.
Does that answer the question again?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's great. Thanks. All right, guys. Cool. Last quote unquote lightning round. Start with you, Andy. If you could offer just one actionable takeaway that people should do right now, assuming people in the product research phase, sellers, vendors, what would you recommend that they take away from this?
Well, I mean, one thing, as I was saying earlier, that most people hadn't realized is that they can immediately start looking at how their keywords respond to changes. They can just start doing that straight away. So that's a really good educational thing. I just spent an afternoon doing this on my own products, and it was just really cool to see, oh, okay, this works, this doesn't work. Yeah, that'd be what I'd recommend.
Greg.
One thing I'm going to recommend is for everyone to test a different image on your particular listing. So we've gone over the importance of optimizing your listings, even if you're not using Splitly or a split testing tool, just to test a different image, because I'm always amazed at how big of a difference some images seem to make. They can really improve your conversions or your sessions, and therefore sales. So that's what I recommend for you guys today.
Thanks. And Pat?
Yeah, mine is going to be around sponsored products and to take the emotion out of your decision making. Act like a robot. Everything on Amazon should be driven by data. Take the products that are actually performing the best. Use your keyword reports and sponsored products to make decisions. If you go back into your Seller Central account after this webinar and you don't have automatic and manual campaigns and negative keywords and different match phrases running in your sponsored products campaigns, you are missing opportunity today, tomorrow, and every day until the end of Q4. And so make sure you're leveraging sponsored products to the full extent of its ability for your business.
Awesome. Guys, Andy, Greg, Pat, that was so much. going to go check out that YouTube link again. That was packed with informative and helpful, actionable stuff. Thanks so much to all the audience and you guys for sharing your expertise. We will be sharing the slides and the video to everybody who registered, so look out for that email soon. Additionally, there is more information if you're looking for a free Amazon content optimization evaluation with CPC strategy. It's cpcstrategy.com/Amazon-evaluation. That's it actually in the top of the chat box. And for 50% off your first month with Splitly, you can go to splitly.com/growth. And that's 50% off any of your first months, regardless of what plan you're on. So thanks so much, guys. Super helpful, and looking forward to staying in touch, and really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate everyone joining.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, guys.